Throughout the spiritual journey, there comes a time where your understanding for reality has to move into the body. And what that basically means is that it's almost like letting the energy express through the body. Because when you have an understanding of like a joke, you'll understand the joke. The understanding doesn't take place in the mind. The laughter takes place in the mind. The joke part and the punchline take place in the mind. You understand it outside the mind. The mind doesn't understand. It doesn't have the capacity to understand. In the same way a calculator doesn't have the capacity to understand the equations. So when we express the joke, we express it as a laughter. So the understanding of the joke, it manifests, you could say, into the body, right? The same with maths. If you to take 1 + 1 equals, we as reality understand the answer. And then we produce the answer into the mind. So it goes into the mind, outside the mind, understood by us. Then we produce the answer into the mind again. So the answer, the true answer, exists beyond the mind. Now, if you apply this to your spiritual journey, when you understand your true nature, instead of laughter, I mean, that will also come, true understanding is accompanied with laughter and joy. But on a holistic level, you've got to think that this understanding, it has to express. Just like if you understand a joke and it's funny, you laugh. If you understand the nature of reality and you truly understand it, you will laughter is the expression of the understanding. In the same way, your understanding will express through the body. And a lot of people resist that process. So I resisted it for a while, maybe like 2 years, 3 years, because it's almost like my body just was not ready to receive this. It's kind of like when you have, people who win the lottery lose their lottery ticket, or they spend all their money within the first year because they cannot withhold the energy of the abundance. So they have to just let it get rid of it, basically. So millionaires don't become millionaires. People who win the lottery and become millionaires don't just maintain being a millionaire. They lose the money because they're not ready to receive it. So this video is about helping you understand that on the path of understanding your true nature, you have to implement the body into the process, which is basically, the only way of putting it is allowing yourself to receive the biggest gift you've ever been given. That's the only way to put it. So if you think of receiving something, right, you have to accept it. If someone gives you something, you literally accept it, or you deny it. You say, no, sorry, I don't want that. Or you say, yes, thank you, I love this. So when you're given something, you have to receive it. Now imagine you're given the biggest gift you could ever possibly be given in eternity. Well, that's a lot to take on board. So your awakening basically gets stuck inside your body for a while because you do not let it out. And when it gets stuck there, you kind of prevent it from moving. And this creates its own layers of suffering. It creates more anxiety, it creates fear, because you're actually holding on to an individual identity. So your universal self is basically moving through, the floodgates are pouring through, but you're holding the floodgates up. So you're kind of drowning in your own freedom in a way, and it's not comfortable. So this is a lot of the times where people talk about being, feeling numb and suppressed through their awakening, feeling depressed after awakening. Feeling uncomfortable, feeling like there's something not right. It's because we're not really receiving the gift that we've been given. And it is justifiable and perfectly legitimate to treat it as if you've been given a gift. Because it is. It's like winning the universal lottery. By the way, guys, if you watch my channel and my videos show up on your feed regularly and you're not subscribed, it would help the channel massively if you subscribe so other people can see my videos too. That would be amazing. I'd be really grateful if you were to do that. If you win the universal lottery, your body, your nervous system, in order to receive that and fully live that, you have to accept winning the universal lottery. Because if you can't accept that, then you're not going to receive the full fruits of that understanding. So a lot of people, when they go through the spiritual path, they struggle to implement their insight. They get insight, but it is as if they don't, it's as if they didn't have the insight. They may as well have just not had it, because for some reason they can't seem to live from that place. Well, this is how you allow that to move through you. Every time you have to basically notice all of this path at the highest level. It's just about noticing. And so when you notice your incapacity to receive freedom, you will feel fear and anxiety because you are holding on to a limited identity that thinks if I lose the limited identity, I will die. And I will inherently lack. And that limited identity is built upon the current world you experience and not wanting it to change. So people who are rigidly stuck in their identity, even though they know, for instance, that they're not fundamentally the individual, they will still cling on to the edges. It's kind of like, I know I can swim. It's like when I was young and I had, the first time I went into the swimming pool with a life jacket on, I didn't want to let go of the side of the pool. I mean, I could see everybody else floating perfectly fine, but and I was wearing a life jacket, but I didn't want to let go. Even though I knew I'm perfectly safe, part of me didn't know it was perfectly safe. Well, the part of me that didn't know it was perfectly safe was the part of me that had never experienced what it was like to let go. You see? So if I let go of the pool, well, yeah, now I have a direct experience. Now, in your experience, it's very likely that you've had some kind of understanding or awakening, but so you kind of have the experience of like, you know it, you get it, but you're not letting yourself experience it because you're scared to let go of the edge of the pool. Now, the trick is that the you that wants to let go is also the one that wants to cling on, you see? If you desire to let go without the understanding, what's happening there is you're creating, the one that holds on is also the one that wants to let go. So in order to let go, you don't just do that willingly unless it is after understanding. So when you go to these moments where you're feeling anxiety or fear, or there's some moment, but for whatever reason, it could just be a long bleeding period where you just don't feel inherently free and you feel like the boring night of the soul, as I call it, where you feel numb, suppressed, depressed, just feel a sense of lack. This is because you're holding on to that edge. And your desire to let go and your incapacity to let go is the ego itself. It's creating the ego. It's like that push and pull between, I want to let go, but I can't. So the ego's like, yeah, I love that. I want to let go, but I can't. What a perfect way to create resistance. So that's what it will do. So instead of making willing attempts to do something that you can't do, the path you must take is the path of understanding. So it's about being genuinely curious in these moments as to what is actually taking place that makes you want to let go and not want to let go, like understanding that mechanism. And what happens is there's sensations in the body that you are attaching your identity to, literally. So imagine that there was like some kind of like sensation in your chest. And what we do, or in our head, what we do is we actually like anchor our sense of identity into a physical sensation. So we literally hold on to a physical sensation, metaphorically speaking, but actually literally at the same time. We're not holding on with our hands, we're holding on with our mind, you could say. And what happens then is that we don't want to lose that sensation. That sensation is usually the body, but it's not the whole body, because we don't identify with our hand. If you do this, you don't feel like I am moving. But if you do this, you might feel like I am moving, right? If you wet your hand, you go, my hand is wet. But if someone pours water over your head, you go, I am wet. You see? So there's a particular field of sensations that you think are you are attaching your identity to and clinging to, which means that when those sensations are provoked, they are provoked in the sense that you feel like they're going to disappear. When you feel like they're going to disappear, you will freak out. And that freaking out won't look like, oh my God, I'm going to die. It'll look like, I don't feel very good. I feel a little bit numb. I feel a bit depressed. I feel a bit anxious. I feel a bit whatever it might be, because you're then suppressing your freedom. So it's literally like getting to the top of the bungee jump and then freaking out at the top and not wanting to let go. So that letting go, you don't need to let go, right? People who tell you to let go, I don't think anyone's ever told someone that. Maybe people have, but it can't happen that way. It has to be through understanding. Through understanding what you are, you will naturally let go. So what path you can take is to simply ask the question, what part of myself am I holding on to? What part of myself do I think if it disappears, I will also disappear? And you need to find that place within your body. You need to identify it. Is it in your toe? Obviously not, right? If it's in your head, which is very likely it's going to be somewhere in your head or somewhere around your chest area. People identify with heart and head. You see, sensations between the chest and the head. Some people in their throat. So you need to scan, basically, and try and find what is it about my experience that makes me feel limited to this particular sensation. What happens is, like a massage, imagine you have a knot in your back, right? The masseuse or the masseur, whoever, will massage your back, and it'll be like, it doesn't know where to go, but it looks, right? It explores, and it goes, oh, there's one right there. And what happens is you kind of massage your energy body, which is really what we're looking at right now. When we go to these sensations, we're actually looking at our energy body, those sensations that you feel are your energy body. You don't actually have a physical body. Your physical body is just what your energy body looks like when you look through it with eyes. So your energy body is basically, you're kind of massaging the energy body with your attention, and you're looking for knots. You're looking for places you've contracted yourself into, because you are an infinite, massive, expansive field. So to be contracted to a particular sensation is quite limiting, especially when you add the fact that if that sensation disappears fundamentally, you're going to die with it. So this is how you're able to receive the greatest freedom, is when you kind of are able to contain the greatest freedom. Because a tiny little sensation in your body is not going to contain the greatest freedom. It's a lot of energy. And all that energy can't go down into that one knot. So literally, if you imagine, let's just take a silly example, right? Let's say the energy is just this massive, big ball of energy in the top of your head, right? And let's say that's the freedom energy, right? That's all of your awakenings and understandings and everything, all the insight you've ever had, all the energy there ready to move into your life and start, creating from that place. But you still hold on to a tiny little fraction in your throat, right? You still hold on, no, but I might actually be this tiny little sensation in my throat or in my chest. So the energy comes down, right? And then all of a sudden it goes, and you've bottlenecked. You've literally put a bottleneck on the energy, so you can't bring it into the body. It gets stuck. Most places it gets stuck in the head, right? So we usually identify with thoughts we believe to be fundamentally thinking. So a lot of people have the freedom energy, they've had an awakening experience, they'll have that freedom energy, comes down, it goes boop, and it gets stuck. Where does it get stuck? It gets stuck in a repetitive thought loop. So it's kind of like, if you imagine this energy is like water, and it pours into the mind, and you think a thought and it splashes it back up again, and you think a thought and you go, I'm not worthy of this, I'm not good enough for this, I'm not this for this, I can't do this. And notice that this I at the center of not being worthy is fundamentally a belief that you are one tiny little sensation somewhere in your body. It all boils down to that. So do you see how the energy gets jammed in the knot that you create, that is literally just you believing you are fundamentally this tiny little knot? So this is how your awakening gets stuck inside your body, literally, because you're not letting it through. So you let it through not by saying, yes, energy, you can come through. I mean, you could do that if it is as a result of understanding. And the understanding is, you're not this tiny little thing that you think you are. Which means you have explored your body, you have noticed the sensations, which you can do by moving, you can do by literally like exploring sensations, and you kind of like identify, you feel the sensation of your hand, but you don't identify with it. You need to notice the qualities of that experience. So this is what it's like to not identify with a hand, but to know the hand is a part of me in some way, right? So knowing something's a part of you, not the problem. Right? Your car is a part of you when you're driving it, but you identify with it, but you don't believe you're fundamentally the car. You'll even like say, ow, if you bump it into the curb, right? You'll identify with the car, but you won't become the car. You identify with your phone when you're texting, right? Your phone becomes your part of your body just because it's not biologically attached to you. It doesn't mean it doesn't become a part of your body when you're using it. So, because like the question is like, what is your body and what isn't, right? If you lose your leg and get a prosthetic leg, is that not your body? What if it attaches to the nerve endings and things like that? What if you can actually move it with your mind? Like, is that not your body because it didn't come from your body? So you have to see that there are many things we experience all day that we identify with that's fine. The problem is when we mistake over-identifying with that thing, which means I'm currently identifying with this body, but I believe I'm fundamentally the body. That's where the troubles come. That's where the energy gets stuck. So I'm identifying with the body right now, but I don't believe that I'm fundamentally the body. You see? Identification is okay. That's a necessary process. Believing we are that with which we identify is not okay. That prevents, that's what creates the psychological identity. That's what creates the fear of death. That's what creates ultimately the fear of existential disappearance, which anchors ourselves into a sensation that we don't even know is there, and all of a sudden we prevent all the downloads of this understanding from coming through. So hopefully this understanding will move you forward, and you can check out more about this in my free community. I have an online residency where we actually explore these things as well. The link for those are in the description if you'd like to check that out. I'd love to see you there. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.